Now, complex international agreements can take decades to negotiate, then years to come into effect. But less than 12 months after it was adopted, the Paris Agreement on climate change is now entering into force. But as our science editor Tarek Bazley explains, getting this far may well have been the easy part.
Last November in Paris, 195 nations made a new commitment to work together to address global climate change. The goal to limit global temperature rise to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by the year 2100. This level is considered a crucial tipping point, above which there will be serious consequences for global food production and more frequent and dangerous weather events such as flooding and drought.
L'accord de Paris pour le climat est accepté.
Adopting the agreement last year was an achievement, but getting a complicated multilateral agreement ratified by so many different nations and then bringing it into force in less than a year is almost unprecedented.
The fact that we now, already less than 1 year after Paris, have it entering into force, it really, it speaks volumes about the global effort or commitment to fight climate change.
Under the Paris Agreement, each country must submit its own plan to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases. The agreement as a whole is not legally binding and doesn't penalise nations who fail to meet their commitments. But it does include a process designed to shame them into compliance.
There are detailed transparency requirements. There's a specific article which is dedicated to something called the global stocktake, and so this is very much the start of a period where each country's actions are going to be scrutinised and reflected upon.
To achieve the agreement's goal of limiting warming to 2 degrees, there'll need to be dramatic cuts to carbon emissions. Some estimates say these will need to be reduced by up to 70% by 2050, and that the planet will need to be carbon neutral by 2100. Current plans fall well short of that.
It's always not enough. What we want to see happening is that this speed, this commitment they've shown into actually making sure it enters into force, we want to see that translated into much faster and much steeper emission reductions as soon as possible.
And next week, at the UN's climate talks in Morocco, the job of putting this new agreement into practice begins. Hundreds of engineers, researchers and scientists will be discussing ways to accelerate and intensify the move towards a sustainable, low-carbon future. Innovations and technologies that will be essential if the Paris Agreement is to live up to its promise.